Let's bring in Jeff Nankivell. He's a former diplomat, president, and CEO of the Asia Pacific Foundation. Jeff, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you coming on the program with us today.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
You know, on a holiday Monday, this story, it is just unbelievable. Can I get your initial assessment of what we're hearing?
Well, it's very sensational and really, I think, without a precedent for relations among countries, with similar judicial systems and societies as Canada and India. So we really haven't seen something quite like this, and this is a very significant development, and certainly it's been received very poorly in India, and the Indian media is aflame with coverage of this. And in fact, the Indian government got out ahead of the story a few hours before it was revealed to Canadian media that the 6 Indian diplomats, including the High Commissioner, had been expelled effectively. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs put out its version of the story, which was that the diplomats were being withdrawn for their own safety.
What about the RCMP's revelations here, Jeff? I just want to get your read on what you make of it. The thoughts that, the Indian agents operating in Canada, extortion, blackmail, murder.
It's very serious, and I think for the RCMP to come out in the way that they did, is one assumes it's an indication that they believe they have the evidence. They talked about having made arrests and laid charges against 30 or more individuals for with charges related to homicide, extortion, coercion, and intimidation, particularly homicide and extortion. And so I think we will have to see in the days and weeks ahead the details of the individual cases. But it's worth noting that this is something now that is in the realm of the justice system and is likely to go on and on, regardless of what happens diplomatically between the two national governments.
Yeah, well said. And you make a great point. In order for the RCMP, Jeff, to go public and for the Prime Minister to hold a news conference along with his Foreign Affairs Minister, Public Safety Minister, that is pretty rare. It certainly would suggest that the evidence here is pretty substantial, pretty concrete, would it not?
Well, we'll have to see. But you can note the difference in approach. Just over a year ago, September 18th of last year, was when the Prime Minister got up in the House of Commons and made the first public sensational allegations connecting agents of the government of India to the murder of Mr. Najjar in British Columbia. But at that time, we didn't have the RCMP coming out and talking about charges of individuals across the country and so on. So this is, I think, a different approach that we're seeing. But really, it remains to be seen what is the substance and the detail of these charges. I think one fact is it will be more difficult, I think, from this day forward for the government of India to maintain the line it has maintained right up until this morning, which was that it has never been presented with evidence of any connection to crimes. That was, again, repeated in statements by the government of India just a few hours ago. But it'll be interesting to see in the coming days if that line is maintained when the Canadian representatives, including the acting High Commissioner in the clip that you showed in Delhi, as well as the Prime Minister, ministers, the RCMP Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner today in front of media, have talked about extensive detail and saying that they've presented that to representatives of the government of India. So we'll see what the next move will be from the government of India.
Jeff, I appreciate you taking some time today on a holiday to come on the program with us and give us your take on this story. Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, Jeff Nankivell is joining us from Vancouver. He is a former diplomat and the president of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada.